Hello, everyone. It gives me great joy to introduce to you someone who is the youngest General Secretary to have served in the TS in Finland, Janne Vuononvirta. I've practiced that. Janne became interested in Theosophy in his early teens when he was 21, and he joined the TS. Since then, he has been an active member in various fields. For the last 4 years, he has been serving as the General Secretary of the TS in Finland. His formal training is in medicine, psychiatry, and psychotherapy. His passion is to use modern science to verify the ageless truths of Theosophy, especially in the field of psychology. Besides work in Theosophy, he likes to spend his time doing taekwondo, circus acrobatics, meeting friends and family, and walking in nature. And I bring to you now, Janne.
Hey, thank you, Mary. And thank you for inviting me, Jenny, Kim-ji. It's a big honor to be here and share something with you that has very big role in my life. This is something that I have been pondering in my mind for about 20 years. So it has been a long process to figure out what it is with healing, and it's still an ongoing process. So I just try to share with you some things that I feel that are important. It's not the whole truth, and actually, well, yesterday we had talk by Tim Boyd, and actually he already told pretty much everything that I have in the beginning, what I have in the end, and then we had Maria's talk, and she pretty much said everything that I have in the middle part of my talk. So so it might be some repetition for you, but repetition makes masters, don't they say? Yeah. Okay. So we start with the definition of healing, and I looked at the Cambridge Dictionary, and in there you can find that how healing is defined. It's the process of becoming well again, especially after a cut or other injury, or of making someone well again. Also, it's the process in which a bad situation or painful emotion ends or improves. So this is dictionary. And then I checked some articles, some medical articles, how they define healing, because it's, well, in the field of medicine, we don't really use word healing there. We use other words, even though healing is it's in the core of medicine. So still, it was quite difficult to find the definition in the medical literature what healing means. But I found some interesting articles. So this was an interview by doctors, and how the doctors define the word healing. And they in this article, the solution is that it's the personal experience of the transcendence of suffering. And again, we are coming closer to more Eastern view of illness and suffering and healing. And in the Eastern tradition, it is said that as long as our mind is covered by ignorance, hatred, desire, or other defilements, we are sick. And therefore, healing means that we let go of ignorance and other defilements. We return to a state of our original purity. And so it's pretty much the same as Tim mentioned to you yesterday. First step, when we talk about healing oneself, is to become aware of the suffering, that there's something wrong in ourselves, and there's some difficulty that we are carrying. Also, healing starts with compassion, because compassion means becoming aware of suffering and a will to do something to remove it. So whether it's healing oneself, whether it's healing others, it starts with recognizing the suffering and with the will to remove the suffering. Many people, when they come in contact with some kind of spiritual practice or some kind of spiritual path, in many cases, it's start with some kind of adversities in life. Some people face difficult illness like cancer, or they lose someone they love, and it's somehow awakening their consciousness to look for a solution for the difficulty. And in some cases, this is the starting point for the spiritual search. There are other ways to become interested. For example, if we meet other people who are on the path already, or we read something that inspires us, or something like that. But in many cases, it's the facing suffering that gives us a spark that leads us to the path. And actually, when we look at the spiritual practice and what's the real meaning of every spiritual practice, it is to overcome suffering. If it does not do this, is it the real practice? Are we really spiritual person? Are we doing things right if we don't try to remove the suffering? So reading books, it's a good thing. So we need some information in the beginning, but reading books alone, discussing, it's not enough alone. But we need to investigate in our life how suffering is being created, how it forms. And doing this demands courage, compassion, patience, stability, and ability to direct our attention to the contradictions of our life, which is not easy. It's not easy to look the painful aspect of our life. It's something that we usually prefer to put under the curtain. We don't want to face, we don't want to experience difficult emotions. We don't want to see the things that tell us that we are actually not well, whether it's physical illness or emotional issues, it's very common that we try to avoid seeing things. In a way, we are like this birds that put their head to the bush and imagine that it's all gone. There's no suffering. But what we need to do is we need to lift our head up and look at the life, what's in there. When I was preparing this lecture, one important book to me was Jack Cornfield's book, A Path with Heart. I can really recommend it. Jack Cornfield is an American meditation teacher who used to live for some years in Thailand as a monk. But then he renounced the monk path and returned it to the US. He became a psychologist, and well, he has done very important work to imply the Buddhist teachings into modern psychology. But he has very good saying that not until we see the whole depth of our wounds can we truly start to heal and mature on the spiritual path. I don't actually know is this what he actually said, because my book is in Finnish and I just translated this into English. So he might have used a different expression. When I talk about healing, I don't talk just physical healing, because to me it's very limited aspect in healing. I think the process of healing is something more profound, and it's a lot of do with our personality or our emotions, our mind, and how we look ourselves, how we relate with the world, and when we want to heal ourselves, we need to build us again, because at the moment we are conditioned by our past. We are conditioned by our childhood, youthhood, by the environment, by the culture in which we live. That makes us act, feel, think in certain ways. It directs how we pay attention to things, what kind of beliefs we have about ourselves, about the other people. In modern psychology, we used emotional schemas when we refer this conditioning of the mind, of the brain, of our body. In Theosophical context, you could use the word skandhas. We need to let go of our non-constructive and harmful behaviors that we have learned in the past, and it takes time. On Monday, we were talking at the dinner table about mocking myself. We all do that quite often. Usually it's women who are very good at criticizing themselves. I'm not pretty enough. Men usually say I'm not muscular enough, I'm not good enough, and this is what we do constantly. And this is just one example of something that is not helpful, but it's very difficult to let go of the self-criticize, because it's something that we have been practicing since we were children. We have repeated this behavior for 1 million times, and if we count our past lives, we have repeated this behavior for billions of times. So when we are willing to learn a better way to behave, when we are working with our shimas, we need to repeat the new ways also 1 million times before they become part of ourselves. But we can do it by doing little changes in life. Now we repeat this thing. It can be something small thing, and we repeat it tomorrow, and little by little it becomes part of ourselves. Another important teacher is Ajahn Chah, who was the teacher of Jack Cornfield in Thailand. He had a profound saying that if you haven't wept deeply, you haven't begun to meditate, meaning that we really need to be in connection with our difficult emotions before we can start healing that part in us. So the process of healing, sorry, I'm just moving slides here and in my own computer, and I forgot to move them for you. So this one, the previous one I mentioned, and this was the quote from Ajahn Chah. And this is where I am now. I apologize for that. What I think one of the main characters of the spiritual practice is meditation, and bringing awareness to our daily living. Nowadays, you can find meditation courses and mindfulness courses everywhere. And when you look at the advertises, you can usually see a beautiful young woman. He's at the beach, looking very beautiful there. It's very serene, and it's total calm in the picture. And then you get the picture that meditation is easy, and it's a direct way to peaceful emotions. And actually in the Eastern tradition, it's not the aim of the meditation. The aim of the meditation is to remove the ultimate cause of our suffering, and that is ignorance. Ignorance, it doesn't mean that we don't have knowledge, we don't have information. It means that our mind is biased. We don't see the world as it is. We don't see ourselves as we are. And therefore, sometimes when you meditate, you start to notice that you are more irritated than you were before. You are more restless than you were before. And actually, it's a very good thing. It means that you are that your awareness is already improving, and you are starting to see what kind of imperfections you have. And it means that then you have space to work with them, because if you are not aware of these things, you cannot work with them. And Usually, when we start the meditation, we start with the formal practice, as we did a moment ago. And this formal practice is very important. We need that practice to develop awareness and to bring that to our daily living. But it's also important to remember that the formal practice alone is not enough, but we need to bring that same attitude to our daily living. And then when we start to recognize what's happening in my mind throughout the day, then I can really have I really have a chance to do something to heal myself and also to help others in a more better way. In the beginning, we need to be truthful, and it's usually more easily said than done, because as mentioned before, our mind is so conditioned by our past that it's very difficult to see what is real and what is not. And usually we have very strong images, for example, about myself, how I think I am. One example could be our relationship with our partner. Sometimes, well, if we want it to be beautiful, if we want it to be very that everything is okay, we start to repeat this to ourselves, and sometimes we don't see that this is not true. Actually, there's a lot of issues, and I just don't want to see them. And same, it's the same thing in all fields, that usually if we are not willing to see things, our mind is able to hide it from us. So we need to have willingness to see, even though it might be painful. But if we don't have all the facts, how can we plan future? How can we go forward if we are not in connection with the reality? So we need to have all the cards on the table before we can make any realistic plans for the future. If we try to do this before we know all the facts, we don't usually succeed because we are lacking knowledge. Then let's go more deeply to the process of healing, which is basically just extending awareness, and not just awareness, but when we work with healing, the awareness I'm talking about, it is warm awareness, it is friendly, it is kind. And if the awareness lacks these qualities, then I don't think the process of healing will work. So be mindful that you warm up your awareness when you work with yourself. Well, it's all about love and compassion. When we do spiritual practices, it's all about love and compassion. This is something that we know already in our hearts, but we are living in a society that doesn't really agree with our experience. And we have learned many times the theory of the survival of the fittest, meaning that when you are strong, you will survive, you will, your genes will go onward, and your children will become strong, and they will conquer all your enemies. So this has been the message that we have heard from the scientists. This is how evolution, the theory of evolution, has been depicted to us. But new research is showing that it's not true, actually. It's not true. The superpower we have is actually our ability to care, ability to connect, ability to feel compassion towards other people. And the modern research shows that actually we need this social glue that is connecting us with other people, and the more we are connected, the better we survive as a society. So it's not just one person who goes forward and survives, but when the society around us is strong, we survive. We cannot survive without other people. And also, this is how our brain has formed during the millions years of human evolution. And when we look at our brain, especially the emotional networks that function, it is the science has noticed that we have actually 3 basic emotional networks in our brain. First one is flight and fight, also called the threat network, the drive or motivation network, and care and safety network. So usually one of these networks dominates at the time in our brain, and all of these work are for different reasons or different purposes. So when we when there's danger around, we need to be ready to escape, to fight. Sometimes if this is not possible, we need to freeze. And in the society where we are living at the moment, we still have this body, we still have our emotions that are trained in the history of millions of years. And usually the threats were something that could really endanger our lives, our health. But now in our modern society, the threats are more social. I'm worried whether I will have enough money to pay my bills, whether I have enough time to do all my tasks, how are my relationships going, how is my health. And this kind of worries also activate the same brain network that we are using to escape the situations which are this network is built against a physical danger, but still when we have other kinds of danger, we're still working in the same way. Drive or motivation network is activating when we are doing something joyful, when we enjoy our work, when children play, they activate this drive or motivation network. But when we talk about healing, the care network is very important. So if your body, if your brain, if the threat network in your brain is activated, you are stressed, and you can feel the stress all over your body. Your body is tense. All the stress hormones activate your body, and the stress in your body is it's preparing you for two purposes or three purposes: to fight, to escape, to freeze. And this is not very helpful for us in our society. So when we want to heal our body or our heart and mind, we try to activate the care network in our brain, so that we can feel safe, we can feel loved, and it is really powerful how our mind sometimes work. I guess all of you have heard about the power of placebo, that sometimes you take a drug that doesn't have any efficient ingredient, but still it works very well. The same thing works the opposite way when we talk about nocebo. That word may not be so familiar to everyone, but it's the opposite of placebo. So it means that, again, you are taking the drug without any efficient ingredient, and you get side effects from it. Yeah, and sometimes it's a lot of how we relate. For example, if we go to our doctor or to whatever healer, what kind of feelings are activated in that moment. If we feel that we are cared, if we feel that if we have trust that this will help me, then I can usually activate the power of placebo. Even if I know that it's only placebo, it still works. It's quite interesting how it works. But also the opposite. If I'm looking for help, but I feel worried, I feel scared, I feel if I feel not loved, I'm the threat mode in my brain is active, and it usually activates the nocebo side of the treatment also. So actually, if I seek help in this condition, I usually get only side effects and no benefits. In the beginning, we need a lot of trust, because without trust, we wouldn't have the courage to go forward. We wouldn't dare to take the steps. Especially, we need to have confidence in ourselves, and also when we talk about healing in a more with a more profound meaning, coming back to the Eastern tradition, meaning that we need to remove our ignorance, which is a long process that doesn't happen in a day. We need also to find trust in the laws that govern the universe. Sometimes, or nearly always, we need someone to teach us how to start with, who will show the light for us in the beginning. But later on, we need to find the light within ourselves. And it is very important to experience what trust is and what is not, because many people are conditioned by our religions in the West, where you can just believe and trust and not to question. But that's not how you build trust. If you want to build trust, you need to do some experiments. You try with something little, see how it works. If it works, you can take the next steps, try something else. If it works too, then you have some foundation for the trust. So it's something that we need to build step by step. It's not something that can be taken for granted. Maria already explained all this to you yesterday. So I just confirm what she said. So our body has a capacity to heal itself, but it needs some time and space and possibilities to do so. The principles of the physical health are enough sleep, healthy diet, physical exercise, avoiding things that harm our body, such as tobacco, alcohol, or excessive stress. Also, it's very important to get help when you need it. So don't overlook help. It's interesting. We have been living in a society that hasn't appreciated sleep that much. But we are starting to see that sleep is very essential for our well-being. And actually, if you don't sleep enough, it can then you have a higher risk for many medical conditions that are very common in modern days, such as diabetes, high blood pressure, depression, etc. And we really need to value our sleep. I think it's one of the core principles in our with our health. And actually, there are some studies that says that without enough sleep, the other principles that I mentioned are not working either. So to get the benefits from the good diet, you need to sleep enough. What healthy diet means, it's you need to, usually it means that you need to eat more vegetables, more fruits, less white grain and less white sugar. Don't eat too much, don't eat too little. And that's it. It's actually quite simple, at least in theory. Also, physical exercise is very important because our body has evolved to move. It has evolved to run. And so for our brains to work in order, we don't need that much of physical exercises. I think the minimum is 2 hours of sweat in a week. So you can get that quite easily. Yeah. I think 4 hours is better. 4 hours of sweat is even better. But when you add, it doesn't give you any extra benefits. Avoiding intoxicants such as alcohol is very important. You already know about all the downsides of tobacco, but what is not that well known, that alcohol is one of the biggest causes of cancer. If you drink alcohol daily, the risk for example, for breast cancer is much higher when if you don't take any alcohol, and in men the prostate cancer is more common. Also stomach cancer, throat cancers are much more common. But also it's very interesting to look at the brain, how alcohol affects our brain. And usually you don't have to drink that much to get the down effects from alcohol to your brain. If you drink that much of beer or wine, it already affects your sleep. And if you drink that daily, you won't get enough sleep. Usually you might feel that you have slept better, but the quality of the sleep wasn't that good. Also, in Finland, it's more common to drink alcohol. That when you drink more, but maybe you don't take that frequently. But if you take 6 doses of alcohol, you have about 1 promille of alcohol in your blood, and according to science, it takes about 1 week before your brain functions again normally. And during that period, you can feel depression, or maybe your mood is a little bit grayish, or you don't sleep that well, you have more anxiety. And also, if you are in psychotherapy, it usually doesn't work during that time, because this kind of when we want to change our conditioning, this is something that is very deep within our emotional learning. So when our brain is in the state of recovering from drinking, the therapeutic effects or meditation doesn't usually work. So if you drink 6 doses of alcohol in a week, it's already enough to destroy your psychotherapy or your meditation process. So it's better to avoid it. So we are starting to go towards the emotions, and it is good to note that we have been thinking that we have mind over here, we have body over here, we have spirit somewhere there or somewhere here, and they are not connected. But it's not like this. Mind, heart, and body are not separate, but they work together. Thank you. So actually, it has been said that emotions can only be felt in the body. And if we lack bodily awareness, we cannot actually work with the emotions. Sometimes body can carry a lot of emotional memories, a lot of emotional stress. And for example, sometimes it's very easy to see. For example, I have had patients who have fibromyalgia, and with those patients that I have had, it's very common that these people have very difficult past, and it's still they haven't processed the difficult events in their past. But when we start to work with our emotion, usually all the physical signs of the emotions start to heal also. So sometimes we have certain kind of pain in our body that doesn't have any physical background, but when we start the emotional work, this pain starts to resolve. This is a body map of emotions by a professor, Lauri Nummenmaa, who is a scientist in Turku, is a city in Finland. And this is actually, so this is a collection from interviews of people all around the world, how they feel different emotions, how they feel the emotions in their body. And it's pretty much the same, independently if you are living in Finland or if you live in Thailand or wherever the body, the emotions can be seen can be felt in the body. If you look at the shame, it's very interesting. Look at the eyes of the person, and at least in Finland, we have a saying that I'm shaming the eyes out of my head. I'm not sure. Do you have the same kind of saying in English? Yeah, but in Finnish we have this kind of saying. Yeah. When we start to deal with emotion, maybe it's good to start with the emotional regulation. Usually you cannot control your emotion. They just pop up and then they go away. And there's not much that you can do about it. Little by little, you can learn how to activate certain emotions and how to lessen certain emotions, how to strengthen certain emotions. But quite often we either over-regulate the emotions or under-regulate the emotion. At least in Finnish culture and also in the West, it's quite common to over-regulate certain feelings. Certain feelings are not allowed to be felt. For example, when something happens in your life, if it's painful, if you feel sorrow, you try to push it away. You try to push the difficult emotion away. But when you do this, you actually you put something away from your awareness. The emotion itself, it doesn't go away, but your ability to be aware of it is lessened. So you are, in a way, you are harming your sensitivity that you need when you are working with the emotions. And actually, when you have done like this for some decades, some years, you can feel that your chest area is compressing. It's not as open, and in a way, your heart is blocked. And if you want to open this area, you need to be aware of all the difficult emotion that you have put under the curtain, and bring up and let it flow again. The other coin, the other side of the coin is under regulation, meaning that sometimes we identify with the emotion too strongly. For example, if we have anxiety, we can be totally overwhelmed by it, and we lose our ability to function. We become paralyzed, or sometimes, if it's, for example, if it's anger, instead of just feeling the anger and let it go, let it flow away, we start acting from the anger. We start throwing things, we start yelling at our children, at our partner, and we start to work in a way that is not functional, that is not constructive. Usually, all emotions serve a certain purpose. And when we are dealing with emotions, it's good to try to find the message that the emotion is carrying. Sometimes emotions are in this moment. For example, if someone's threatening me, it's very good to be alert, to have this sense that if you come at me, I come at you, and I'm ready to fight. So in that moment, I need to have this. I need to have some power, which is connected. I need to have certain emotions to be assertive. But sometimes many memories are like traces from my past life, and it has nothing to do with the current situation. So how to heal the heart? Heal the heart is to listen gently. Try to recognize what feeling I have, and also what's beneath the first feeling. Is there a secondary feeling beneath what is surface? We can try to name it. Oh, this is hatred, this is shame. Naming helps you to be more aware of the emotion, and then we can let go of it. We can let it flow. We don't have to carry it. Then the mind. So we are this is a very big field, and I have only 6 minutes to go. So when we start meditating, we can find that our mind is full of thoughts. Some scientists have counted that we have about 60,000 thoughts in a day in our head. So there's a lot of things going on. And when we start working with the mind, we need to look at the content of the mind, to look at our thoughts. So we need to become aware how we are thinking, and we need to check whether our thoughts are true, are they constructive, are they kind. But then the second step is to let go with the identification with the mind and with its content. That actually, in some cases, it's better not to believe your thoughts. They are just thoughts, and that's it. And this is my final slide. So then we have a few minutes for, well, time for one question also. So I think, well, this is something Tim already talked yesterday, so I don't have to go very deeply into this. But I find that the ultimate healing means that we go towards the reality, is that we let go of our personal self, or at least we let go of the identification with our personality. We are not our body, we are not our emotions, we are not our mind. And also the deepest level of healing, of course, when we start to realize the oneness of life, when we realize that we are not alone, we are not separate, we are together. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. One quick question. There is a theory that all diseases are emotions trapped in our bodies because we don't release them. What do you think about it?
I think sometimes emotions have very strong effect on our body, but I think there are many conditions when our sickness or medical condition is not affected by our emotions. So maybe if I was clairvoyant, if I had the level of sight as Buddha has, I could tell you a more precise answer. But at the moment, my answer is I don't know.
Thank you. That was an absolutely wonderful talk. And I learned an awful lot from it. And you did say what Tim Boyd has said, and you did say what Maria has said, but you actually said an awful lot more than that. So, I mean, thank you so much. I could ask you lots of questions, but the one I want to ask is, you said something in the middle of your talk about how people come to a consultation. And if they come with a negative,
thank you for the question. So the question was that could I elaborate more about the emotion, negative emotion when you come to and consult a doctor? So I think it's not only emotions, but also we have certain beliefs that we carry that we are usually not aware of. Usually my conscious mind is telling that, well, I need help. But then there's another part of me that says that, oh, this is dangerous. Will I be accepted? Will I be carried? Some people they have gone to a doctor when they were children, and the doctor looked at their ears, for example, and it felt painful. So they may have these emotional memories that I might get hurt when I see a doctor. So all this, what is in the history, is also activated. And also, it's not only what kind of experiences I have had with the healthcare workers, but also what kind of relations I have with my own parents, with my own family. For example, I have my mother is a physiotherapist. My grandmother she's a nurse. So all my life I have been meeting healthcare professionals. And most of them are very nice people. They really want to help other people. So whenever I need help, and for example, when I needed I had some issues with my teeth, and I needed to see a dentist. I went to sit there, and I felt so happy that I was being treated. There was these two persons who were taking good care of me, and I felt so thankful. And then I got the treatment very quickly, and my that tooth it recovered very quickly. So I was able to bring all the good memories to that moment. But if the negative memories would have activated, it would have been a totally different thing.